Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube series and the Raw review for the 21st of June, 2021. Again, this show is a waste of time. I don't understand how people think this show is good. I don't understand how the writers keep their jobs. I think it's to the point where the company just doesn't care anymore and they have their money and they're just throwing something at the wall the day of the show. Anyway, um, show starts with a fireworks display. So there's people that have just been through a worldwide pandemic. Let's waste money on fireworks. That makes sense. Only a multi-billion-dollar company or billion-dollar company would waste money in this way. Um, and then there's a couple of Money in the Bank's briefcases hung above the ring. They announced 5 qualifiers for tonight. Why? Out of nowhere. Why 5? Why are we pushing a pay-per-view that's kind of an off-brand pay-per-view in such a heavy way? Who knows? Anyway, MVP and Bobby Lashley are in the VIP lounge. Uh, Lashley and 5 women enter. Lashley admits that Drew McIntyre took him to his limits, but he's not good enough to beat Bobby Lashley. MVP makes it clear that McIntyre cannot challenge Lashley again. They showed a picture of a less than happy McIntyre on screen. MVP talks about toasting to Lashley with champagne. New Day interrupts, and they wheel out a plate of actual toast. This was funny. And they throw toast at the heels. Um, MVP said this is clown nonsense, and that's why Kofi was only watching Hell in a Cell. Kingston said he's associated himself with people he trusted, not users. Kingston wondered if Lashley's ladies would still be there if he lost the title. Lashley said he wasn't planning on losing it anytime soon, and especially not to Kingston himself. Kingston lost the title and was busy making pancakes, and that's why Lashley stood on top of the hierarchy while Kingston's at the bottom. Kingston reminded him that he beat Daniel Bryan to win the title in the first place. It also beat Lashley a few weeks ago. And then MVP thought Kingston must be joking. Lashley accepts a challenge, and he reminds Kingston he only won the match because of McIntyre. Lashley wanted the match to have no interference and challenge Xavier Woods to a match tonight so he could take him out. Woods then said he's used to people dismissing him. He ran down his own accolades, which included number of YouTube subscribers on his channel. He also is an 11-time tag team champion and wanted Lashley to underestimate him. Woods looked in the cage and said tonight the match would be inside the cell. Lashley accepted. Match is made official. This is the first Hell in a Cell match on Raw in 25 years, and absolutely nobody cares because it hasn't been properly hyped. In the segment earlier today with AJ Styles almost in the Viking Raiders, Styles suggested they watch him beat Ricochet to a pulp. Once the Money in the Bank, and he'll become champion again. He and Omos would defend the tag titles against Eric and Ivar. Eric said that they'd beaten them before and would beat them again. Styles knocked the turkey leg out of Ivar's hand. Ivar wanted to go after him, but thinks better of it. Ricochet cuts a pre-tape promo. He knew what it's like to fail when challenging for the title and knew how hard it was. He'd be willing to do whatever it took to win. Qualifying match for Money in the Bank. Ricochet defeats AJ Styles in just under 10 minutes. They go to a break less than a minute into the match. Styles posted Ricochet. Ricochet makes a comeback, hits a Northern Light suplex, and rolls through into a vertical for a near fall. Styles then hits an Enziguri and a rack bomb in an awkward position for 2. Bunch of strikes. Ricochet ducks a Pele kick and hits a German suplex into a pin for another near fall. Styles applies calf crusher. Ricochet gets the rope break. Styles hits a fireman's carry neck breaker and sets up the phenomenal forearm. Viking Raiders suddenly appear out of nowhere because they're baby faces, but they should interfere. Styles finally goes after the phenomenal forearm, but Ricochet counters into a recoil for the pinfall win and qualifies for Money in the Bank. The announcers run down the card. Piper Nevins is referred to as her partner with Eva Marie. So, wow, this poor girl's been, in a rough space. Riddle approaches Randy Orton backstage with some Arcade Bro merchandise. Riddle rambles on about wanting to keep his stash of burgers in Money in the Bank briefcase after being afraid of Burger King mascot. Orton tells him to be quiet, and Riddle wonders if Orton has any tips for the Money in the Bank match. Orton told him to stay out of his way. Riddle said that it would be awesome if they were both in the match. Orton said it wouldn't be awesome for Riddle. Then Eva Marie and Piper Niven are interviewed by Kevin Patrick, who is the latest tasteless or flavorless interviewer. Anyway, Marie said that last week went perfect, and she got a mani-pedi before the show, but unfortunately also got a cold. She faked a cough. Eva Marie said her protege took her place. Patrick asked her name. It appeared that Neville was about to say Piper, but Marie cut her off and said her name was Dewdrop. And Niven stunned. They walk off, and Marie made Niven hold her robe. Second Money in the Bank qualifying, this one on the women's side. Naomi and Asuka defeated Eva Marie and Dewdrop in just under 3 minutes. It seems like Marie would start the match, but immediately tags in Niven. Niven had Naomi pinned after corner cannonball, but Asuka breaks up the cover. Niven's about to attempt the move off the top, but Marie tags herself in, makes the cover. Naomi kicks out. Marie wants to tag out, but Niven shook her head and dropped off the apron. Naomi rolls up and with the win. And Niven's pleased for herself. Naomi and Asuka qualify for the women's side of the Money in the Bank. New Fast and Furious movie sponsors Raw. Ad featuring John Cena. We go to the second hour. An hour of my life is gone, and I saw, well, junk. Anyway, Lashley shown warming up in the back. Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce address Rhea Ripley. Deville asks Ripley to enter. She does. Pearce said her actions last night are unacceptable. Ripley is confused. Deville and Pearce explained what happened when a champion gets disqualified. Pearce asked the rules were not meant to be exploited. Ripley said the rules only apply to her because she's seen Charlotte exploit the rules over and over again. Charlotte interrupts. Charlotte admits that Ripley is smarter than she thought, but she also planned on destroying her. Deville grants Charlotte a rematch for the title at Money in the Bank. Both women seemed content with this. Ripley's music played, and out we go. Tamina and Natalya are in the back doing a photo shoot. Sarah approaches for an interview. They cut it short because Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke are training in a nearby ring. Natalya tells them to take a break. Rose and Brooke said they're just doing what she suggested last week by putting in the work. And Natalya told them they were obliged to do media as champion. Rose and Brooks wanted to fight, but Natalya reminded them that she's already beat Rose last night. Natalya and Tamina agreed to fight, but they were drop-kicked off the apron by Rose and Brooke. This is a complete, utter waste of time. And I feel so bad for the talent that they have dreamed of being on national TV, and this is how they're used. Money in the Bank qualifying match. John Morrison with The Miz defeats Randy Orton in 12 3/4 minutes. This is the first time they've wrestled in 10 years, according, and first time ever in a singles match, apparently. Morrison has an early advantage and goes to the outside. Orton drops him onto the announce table. Orton goes after The Miz in a wheelchair. Orton's in control until Morrison comes back with a springboard kick. Morrison slams Orton's arm against the steel step and tries an armbar submission. Orton fights to block the armbar. Fast and Furious ad plays. And then the wrestlers knew there was an ad playing. Orton is talking to Morrison during this process. So I don't know if this aired everywhere, but it did air on the feed I was watching. Orton finally counters an armbar as soon as the ad was over. Orton then fights back, hits a power slam and a draping DDT. Orton sets up the RKO, but Miz sprays him in the face with the drift stick. Orton turns its attention to Miz, so Morrison applies a schoolboy for near fall. Riddle sorted out and casually chases Miz around the ring. Orton is distracted by this, so Morrison wrenches him against the rope before hitting Starship Pain for a pinfall. Patrick interviews Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Baszler said she isn't afraid of anyone, and nothing's going to stop her from qualifying for Money in the Bank. And Jax says there's nothing like Alexa Bliss. More wasted time. Announcers congratulate Titus O'Neil on being nominated for the Muhammad Ali Humanitarian of the Year award. This is a cool thing, and ironic because I just watched a documentary on Muhammad Ali yesterday. It just seems like a weird synchronicity. Anyway, Money in the Bank qualifying match: Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross defeats Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Bliss does have new music, but same old junky gimmick. Cross does a pre-match promo in the back. She's not sure what she's really doing, and I guess Nikki Cross is now doing some sort of super kind of superhero gimmick. Bliss also tries hypnotizing Reginald as Jackson Baszler tried snapping him out of it. Cross wiped them all out with a dive at the top rope, leading to a break. Cross is in control and Baszler tags in. Bliss is happy to join the action, but the heels take control here, or the babyfaces take control here. Bliss fights out and gets back to Baszler. Baszler gives her code red before tagging in Cross. Jax held Cross and Baszler at hand. Goes for a punch, but Cross ducks. Baszler manages to hold up, and she said she didn't hit Jax, but Jax is upset anyway for some reason. Cross gives Baszler a back suplex, and Bliss goes to the top to hypnotize Reginald. Jax snaps him out of it, and then Cross dropped them before rolling up Baszler for the pinfall win. Cross and Baszler and Cross and Bliss qualify for the Money in the Bank. More wasted time. The only reason I still watch this show is two. One, it's a 32-year habit, and just being a wrestling fan. And two, I do it for this channel because I don't think everyone should have to waste time in a life that's short with this drivel. Anyway, DeVille and Fierce approaches McIntyre and tells him he didn't have to compete tonight. McIntyre admitted he wasn't in the best of shape after last night, and he's annoyed because he figured that they'd be telling Lashley the same thing. McIntyre quotes Churchill and said he'd never surrender. Then they flash back to John Cena and The Rock from WrestleMania 29. Think about that. That's almost 10. It's 8 years ago. 8 years this company has not been that relevant. Anyway, third hour, Jinder Mahal, Cedric Alexander, Jeff Hardy, and Sheamus argue about that they each deserve to be in the Money in the Bank. Mahal and Hardy make their case saying that they're former champions. Alexander thought that they should be over these old antiques. Funny line. Hardy reminded him that he'd beaten him twice. DeVille says matches were final. Sheamus said he shouldn't even have to qualify considering he's the U.S. champion. Pierce says he's okay with defending the belt. Sheamus says his nose was hurt and he walked away. Mahal says if something bad were to happen to one of the participants, they should consider him as a replacement. Really good matchup next. Money in the Bank qualifier. Matt Riddle qualifies, defeating Drew McIntyre in just under 23 minutes. McIntyre's back is bruised from last night. McIntyre's in control until Riddle yanks him off the top rope, and they follows up with a senton and several suplexes. McIntyre fights back with a suplex of his own. Riddle shoves him into the post outside the ring before hitting an overhead suplex on the floor. Ouch. After the break, Riddle continues to target the back of his opponent. He hits an exploder and kicked him in the back. McIntyre gets his knees up, a senton attempt followed with an overhead series of suplexes and a neck breaker. Riddle countered a DDT into a jackknife cover for a near fall. McIntyre comes back with a clothesline for a near fall and an Alabama slam for same. McIntyre then suplexes Riddle off the top, and Orton makes his way out after another break. McIntyre tries a white noise off the top, but Riddle counters it into a powerbomb. Follows up with knee strike for near fall. McIntyre blocks a Pele kick and hits a Michinoku driver for all of his trouble. McIntyre tries something off the top, but Riddle catches him with a triangle choke. McIntyre fights out and hits a future shock DDT for a near fall. McIntyre sets up a Claymore kick. Riddle is not getting up. McIntyre goes after him and trades suplexes until Riddle catches him with a knee strike. Riddle then goes for a floating bro, but McIntyre dodges it. McIntyre goes for a Claymore kick, but Riddle counters with the bro mission. McIntyre fights out and headbutted Riddle, but Riddle caught him in a victory roll with a pinfall win. Riddle approaches Orton on the stage and wants a fist bump. Orton doesn't give it to him. Kingston's psyched up to watch Woods in the back. And then Jackson Riker whipped himself on the back with a strap. And Mansoor comes out. He's looking for advice. He's weirded out by what Riker's doing. Riker gives him the advice of never letting your enemy escape. Riker said he had a strap match against Elias next week, and he's looking forward to it. Mustafa Ali approaches Mansoor and tells him he's looking in the wrong direction and asking the wrong people. He said he should be asking why he's not in the Money in the Bank qualifying matches. Ali told him you won't be given a chance to climb the ladder. You have to build your own ladder. Looked over at Riker, who continued hitting himself with the strap. This is stupid. Last chance triple threat match qualifying next week between Orton, McIntyre, and Styles, which could, in theory, be good. Then we go to the Hell in a Cell main event. Why did we do a pay-per-view if we're just going to do one the next night? Because we're lazy. Anyway, so WWE Champion Bobby Lashley with MVP defeats Xavier Woods with Kofi Kingston in 13 and 3/4 minutes. Lashley hits not one, not two, but 3 or 4 flatliners in a row for near fall. Woods tries to hit Lashley to the chair. Lashley punched him in the face. Woods gets out of the way of spear, drop kicks Lashley into the cage. Woods hits him several times with the chair and fires up. Lashley's in control after a commercial break with no explanation of how we got there. Corey Graves says the match has been one-sided, although actually watching the match would say differently. Woods eventually fights back and attacks with a kendo stick, hits a wheelbarrow facebuster for a near fall and a tornado DDT for another. Woods then slips out of the powerbomb and super kicks Lashley into the table. The table is in the ring when this happens. Woods follows up with a diving elbow through the table for a near fall. Lashley then sends Woods into the chair in the corner and a spear. Applies the Hurt Lock for the submission win. After the match, Lashley continues to attack Woods. MVP gets inside the cell and locks it shut. Kingston couldn't make the save. Lashley puts Woods in the Hurt Lock again. Kingston screams for him to let go. Post-match angle's looking good. Obviously, it's leading to Kingston turning eventually, but it's a good little story while it's here. We'll be back with more right after this.